This is the Wenning Strength Podcast, brought to you by Wenning Strength and Wenning Strength Media. For printed copies of match training manuals, custom equipment, online coaching and analysis, and information on upcoming seminars, go to wenningstrength.com. For DVDs, digital downloads, and digital copies of all of Matt's manuals, go to wenningstrengthmedia.com. Bill Kazmaier is a legend and the self-described strongest man who ever lived. And it's hard to argue. He is a two-time world champion powerlifter. He is a three-time world's strongest man. In fact, he'd likely have the record for most world's strongest man wins had he not been disinvited after his third win. He was so dominant in the sport that the organizers wanted to give an opportunity for someone else to win. He has at least 15 world records. He was a pro wrestler, ESPN and Arnold Fitness Expo commentator, and is currently a motivational speaker. And among other things, just a really great guy. He hung out with us all day. In fact, our podcast with him was almost 2.5 hours, so we're going to divide it up into 3 sections. This is part 2, so if you haven't checked out part 1, make sure you do that first, and we'll wait for you here. Also, to celebrate the release of this podcast and our time with Kaz, we are offering a discount on any purchase made through wenningstrengthmedia.com. Use discount code KAZ, that's K-A-Z, and you'll receive 15% off any item or combination of items through wenningstrengthmedia.com. The
middle linebacker's keying on me. So, I mean, it's bang, bang, bang. I'm getting hit good, but I don't get the ball.
Yeah.
And we lose.
Yeah.
So we get to practice on the next Monday, and I'm pissed. I knocked the living shit out of these kids through the whole scrimmage, everything. Yeah. And into practice, time to do our wind sprints. Usually we'll do 10 and go. 40s on 1. Down, sit, hut 1, hut 2. I went on 2. It was on 1.
Oh.
Then we did 20. Then we got to 30. 30 40s. We did 40 40s. These fucking kids are dying.
Yeah.
I'm starting on 2. I pass them at the 30. I stop I would go through the 40.
Yeah.
I stop at 45, 48, get back to the line, and I'm down and ready.
Yeah.
My coach is pissed. Who wins, coach or Kaz?
Kaz.
No.
Coach.
Coach is always right.
Always coach.
Coach is always right. His name was Dean Dalton. He was the greatest high school coach. He's been commemorated for all the things that he'd done in mentoring young people and making champions out of them.
Yeah.
He put me on the Pines and put a kid ahead of me the first regular season game.
Yeah.
0-0 at the half. There's 19 seconds left. We're on the 32-yard line going in. We ain't going to make it. They put me in.
Yeah.
32 yards.
Nice.
We scored 3 times that night.
That's so badass.
I scored all 3.
And you're not really doing much lifting at this time?
None at all.
Not at all.
Just fast and strong.
Just fast and strong.
I look back and I think when I went off to college on a scholarship, 30 teams from all over Michigan State said, if we see Bill Kazmaier's name on a Big Ten roster, we're filing a formal complaint because we know he's ineligible.
Yeah.
The next year it went from ranking class at ATC score to a C average, which I had.
Yeah.
But I wasn't eligible, so I went in on a 5-year program for underprivileged kids to Wisconsin. They wouldn't let me play, I told my principal, come on, change something.
Yeah.
So he changed my ranking class. I was eligible. They still wouldn't play me. Really? I got on a bus to go to Minnesota, 6 hours on the bus. Ken Starch, another all-state football player from Madison. They said, he'll have half and you'll have half. They didn't play me. And then they tried moving me into the line. I did some things on this team. I had to play against Mike Webster.
Okay.
They wanted to test me out. We had on the crown of the hill, on the field, it was a 3-on-1. Pretty good tailback, Mike Webster. He pancaked everybody. I fucking hit him hard.
Yeah.
Stood him up, shed him, and made the tackle on the line of scrimmage 3 times in a row.
Ooh.
I thought I got hit in the head with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Fuck, I was tearing. He did that every practice, every game, every play. He'd knock down a nose guard, knock down a linebacker, and be chasing a D-back or corner.
Yeah.
That guy was insane. After the games, he'd be benching 405 for 8s and 10s.
Yeah.
And there's Rufus the Roadrunner Ferguson squatting 500 for 10s. He has no hair. He looks like he's 30.
Yeah.
But he's 20.
Yeah.
And he's got legs like this. And he's 5'6" and 205.
Yeah.
My first experience in the weight room was going in as a freshman. They loaded up the bar on the deadlift. And I went from 2 1/4, 315, 405, 495, 585, 600.
Yeah.
First day. So back when I was getting abused, we had to cut stumps. 2-man, 18 horse, 5.5, 6 foot blade.
Yeah.
It pivoted. So
Yeah.
slice up big shit or flush it. There I am, pulling. There he is working his way around.
Yep.
I'm on the hard end. I'm on the brains end, right?
Yeah, you're already used to all this shit. It's just,
I'm
it's just
pulling,
not weights. Yeah.
I'm pulling for like 10 minutes. I'm looking at that chain coming around, hoping 2 things. It's got a good edge and it doesn't snap.
Yeah.
Because if it does, it's going to cut my ass in half.
Right.
So we showed up on a job one day. I got there, and he picked me up from the house. We went 6 miles over town. We got there at 8 o'clock sharp.
Yeah.
We cut down 2 trees that were about that big around and 40 feet tall. They were elms, pretty heavily greened. But luckily, no dragon. They were right by the truck. So he's up that tree, and he's tied in, and he starts topping it out, and I got to run the saw up and gas it up, and this, and that's I'm the groundsman.
Yeah.
We cut down 2 trees. He got paid $150 a tree. I got paid a couple bucks an hour. How many days do you think it took us to cut down 2 trees?
I have no idea. Not at 40 feet. I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3 days.
How many hours do you think it took to cut down 2 trees?
Oh.
We left that day.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. That's a lot of work. Because
What time? We got there at 8 o'clock. What time do you think we left? 8 at night? 4 in the afternoon?
I would say at minimum 8 at night. You have to be at least 12 hours, I would say.
We drove out of there. I had it. He had this thing topped and dropped in 15 minutes. The whole tree was down in 30. I had it on the truck, and he was up the next one. We left at 10:01.
Wow. Yeah, my uncle used to do tree work, so I used to go help him with that stuff when I was a kid, and I know what you're talking about. That is some major quick work.
So, I encourage young people to try to, something's only heavy if you think it is.
Yeah.
It's only hard if you think it is.
Yeah.
Your perception of your reality is your reality. If you believe something's easy, you like it, and you're good at it, you are.
And you grew up in such a harsh environment with all that lifting weights was toys because you already had the mental capacity to do things for hours on end that were very hard.
We talked about Paul Anderson as we came in the door.
Yeah.
I was educated a little bit to what he did and how he lifted and the sort of things, the Olympic Games and clean and jerk and stuff. And I know he had problems with the length of his hands and cleaning and all the rest. And he seemed kind of overweight and heavy, but he was good at singles and squatting. And they say that he did 8 reps over, 1 rep every 30 minutes or hour for 8 hours. And he just dig dirt out of his hole or add dirt to it and lift these wheels.
Yeah.
You don't know about all the weights and stuff, but the guy I had to follow like that, other than I said before, Cook and Cole and Reinhout, to get to the top of the mountain, was Paul Anderson, and he did 1 rep at a time. I did things like a back routine, 7x7, 49 sets.
Yeah.
All usually 10s. We did so much volume of work in everything that we did.
Yeah.
I did this little bell bench press.
Yeah.
2 plates for 20, 3 plates for 20, 4 plates for 20. I had to pull 315 wouldn't touch my chest. So I'd take 405, I'd take it and try to pull it down. It still wouldn't.
And a lot of people, I know what you're talking about because when I'm hitting big benches for me, which is a little over 600, 315 starts to become a struggle to touch. That's how strong and thick and beefy your pecs become and your delts become. So
I bang 4 plates for 20, go 5 plates for 10. That's still just a warm-up.
Yeah.
The workout is 5 5s at 550, sort of fast. Not much rest, minute and a half. And then 4 sets of 10 on the way back down.
Yeah.
Now, 2 of those are wider. And of course, we don't mean wide.
Yeah.
And we don't mean narrow. We mean 1 finger.
Yeah.
And then a narrow, of course, is just tucking the elbow.
Yeah.
A wide is going kind of high and flaring the elbow.
Right.
To fill in no man's land up on top and to get the pec, low pec, which starts the bench off, as we all know. You all know that?
Yeah, I know that. They're still learning.
You're freaking expert.
I've heard that.
Okay, so those 4 sets of 10 at 465. 1 of each of those sets of 10 are stop benches.
Yeah.
Low and high. And then, just kind of to get a good flush, because I don't know if I've done enough yet, right?
Yeah.
430.
So not to cut you off, but where did you get those ideas to have that much volume? Like, where did you just kind of
I don't know.
just wing it and just go how you felt that day?
We would take a calculator and look at a world record, and then go back from there, look at it, short-term, long-term goals. Okay. Short-term goal might be as short as a workout or a week or 1 cycle.
Right.
But then a long-term goal is through the year.
So you're creating these PRs based on rep ranges and percentages based on this top number that you feel you're trying to figure out a path through the forest to get to.
Right. And we use periodization and all that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Periodization was discovered by Mike Stone at Auburn University in the Strength Research Center in like the early 80s.
Yeah.
I said, Mike, call it what you want. You can claim it, but we've been doing it for about 15 years.
Yeah, I know Mike Stone for us, he applied to run the Ball State Human Performance Lab with Dr. Costal when I was still in grad school. And his big claim to fame for us as the grad students was that he trained Mark Henry down in Texas.
Probably because he liked Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
And he worked with Dr. Todd.
Yeah.
And Terry Todd adopted Mark in many ways. And it was
so in those,
you still didn't let me get that last bench press
go
in.
for it. I'm ready.
430 for how many reps? I'm not asking you. How many reps at 430? It's a 15 set. It's just a flush. I just did 4 sets of 10 at 465. No clues. What did the Russian do lately with 200? This is 195 kilos.
Oh man, I don't.
Star Trek, what did he do?
I don't.
18, 19?
Yeah, so
I did 25 reps. This is my 15th set.
On your 15th set.
If I would have just done that on the way up with like 200 kilos?
Yeah.
40?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's impressive.
If I wouldn't have squatted and just did bench?
Yeah. That's impressive. When you guys have seen me lift, and my best with 405 in one set is about 23 to 24 is what I've done at very big. So, you know, that and those are multiple sets.
And then putting up this, we got so much to talk about. We probably should do a few podcasts, but we try to put all these 3 lifts together and to talk about the greats that have influenced us, with the Andersons and the Cuss Coles and Reinholdts and the rest.
You are the one. You're one of the few that I'm the same. When people ask me about lifting, it's always Reinhold, Cook, Kaz. I don't know which order, you know, but depending on what time you would give, like Reinhold had totals that nobody was doing anything at that time, which made him impressive because he had no one to chase.
Right.
You know, and that 915 squat that he had at super heavyweight was a
930 or something. I think.
930 was an all-time record until
and it was with just a pair of gym shorts.
Yeah, a few years ago.
I look at it that he weighed 365. I weighed like 330.
So, in your opinion, if you take all of those, you've been around the longest. Who is the best lifter besides you that you put up? You put up in high regard.
When Fred Hatfield stepped back with 1,042, they moved the racks and he went. Boop, boop.
Yeah.
That's strongest guy in the world.
Beefy dude. And what's funny is he had a PhD.
He was in gymnastics and he was an Olympic lifter. His body was torn up and worn out.
Yeah, because he was already, 44 when he did that?
Yeah.
Something in that range?
So I'm sleeping under the dumbbells in his gym in Madison. And when it got cold, I'd go into the sauna at night.
Yep.
And he'd come in the next day and I was about to squat and I said, Fred, how about a little help with the squat? He goes, I'm going to squat 700 before you, Kazmaier. So I was just getting started. So
you knew Fred Hatfield from way back in the day. Because, I forgot he's from Wisconsin as well. Yeah.
And what he says is, Kazmaier beat me to 700, but he never did 1,000. I love Fred.
I think that your squat and your bench press and all that would have been much, much higher if you wouldn't have transitioned over into strongman. But if you wouldn't have ever transitioned into strongman, you wouldn't be who you are today. Because what makes you special is that you hit insane powerlifting numbers and then did crazy shit in strongman.
And I'm champion of both at the same time.
Yeah, you're rounded.
There was a guy named Pasanello
who
came through and he made a bar that was 55 pounds and about 4 inches wider. Mm-hmm. As you know, getting inside that bar, I ripped the bicep tendon out of the bicipital groove. There's a sheath on top of it. Mm-hmm. Well, I tore that off and it came out. The day after squatting, I couldn't bench 135. Mm-hmm. So I'd drive up to my chiropractor and he would grab that tendon.
Oh, jeez.
Pull it, roll the shoulder, pop it back in. The next day, I'd go back and do my insane workouts.
Jesus.
Imagine letting all that heal up.
Yeah.
Doing a little more tricep, a little more shoulder, and doing just bench.
My bench, when I watch you do those old videos, is almost identical to the exact position that I use.
You're a smart guy.
I'm a smart guy. and I've noticed, you know who I talked to a couple of days ago that said the same thing? Jeremy Hornstra.
I would tell people that he's got like the best bench out there.
Yeah.
And he came after me. I don't know that he copied what I was doing.
We'll just say he did.
If you're a bench presser, that's the way to lift it. There's a guy across town here. I don't know his name, but he's Lou Alcindor. No, that's a basketball player.
Oh, I know exactly what your name is.
Lou the 8 Man. I never really met the guy or talked to him, but he's got some crazy ideas.
Yeah.
That can really hurt.
And that's
some people.
originally when I came from.
Yeah.
And then molded off into my own.
Right.
So, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So this benching and squatting and them fitting together, this Pasanella guy comes out with a wider bar, and it's heavier, so it's sturdier.
Yeah.
And I'm living in Alabama. He's in Georgia.
So what was your best squat with an IPF bar or a Texas bar for those people?
Well, the 900 triple in the gym was the best, but I went to the meet off that, and my doc, that was a different cycle. I did a 900 double, and I went to the meet in Columbus, Georgia. It was set up with international judges for me to break the records.
Yep.
And my doc came to the workouts. He was a wonderful man, with Marcaid, because my tension fasciolata was inflamed. Okay. So for 6 weeks, he'd shoot medicine in it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't feel it. He said, Bill, if you don't go laterally, you won't rip it off. I go, oh, great.
Yeah, because I remember your squats later in that career became very narrow and almost Olympic style. Because
I didn't fit in top, so I had to get tight down below. And I really strained that tendon. Off a 900 double, I got to the meet, and in the bottom of the squat at 9 1/4, which was a toy, I heard something rip. Oh. And I go, oh, shit. The record that day was 968. My third was going to be 975.
Yep.
If you put that with the 661 and the 848, that would have been 2479. The 661 bench was off of a 633 triple.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
I twinged on the third, went, oh, fuck. Somebody standing above me lifted off. Put a negative thought in my head. He said, if you do 3, you'll get hurt. I did 3. I got hurt.
Wow.
Why did he tell me that? So I dropped to 575 for 5 and said, oh, I'm fucked. I didn't know what to do. I rest up for a few days.
Yeah.
1 week later, I do 500 for 10. Should have done 655 for a double.
Yeah.
Which would have yielded probably 680. I got 35 off a double, which would have been 85 or 90.
Yeah.
Instead, with a 500, no peak, shouldn't bench, shouldn't squat with an injury, should just forget about it. I go and squat, and in the bench, I do a 661.
Yeah.
I told Ryan Kinnelly why I was stronger than him in the bench.
Yeah.
And it took me 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He listened to me.
Yeah.
He gave me the respect all the way through to hear my philosophy, my routines, and what I had done.
Yeah.
Because off that triple, if I wouldn't have been hurt, it would have been 90.
Yeah.
8 weeks with no squatting or deadlifting would have been 7 1/4.
Yeah.
1 year of bench press specialist, 800 raw.
And you know what? Kennelly did take that to his advice. So I met up last year. I had my bike, my Harley Davidson shipped to Las Vegas, rode to LA, up to Portland, Oregon, and over to Kennelly. He's on the east side of Washington. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of the town. It's kind of small. Yeah. But I stopped and talked to him, and I was asking him, I said, what's your max on this? And he goes, I don't really know. I don't do much less than 3s. And I was like, where did you get that idea? Because he's a big guy. And he's like, Gaz told me. He's like, you got to have those 2s and 3s up high to get those singles big.
You don't need the singles.
You don't need the singles.
That's pouring every drop out of the jar.
Yeah.
And you know what was so nice talking to him? I was trying to be a mentor.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen him for 4 or 5 years. I don't know where he was, but he's just like dropped out.
Yeah.
And there he is at Fit Expo, and I'm talking to him, and you know, the nicest thing he could say when I finished, no argument, no Kaz, you're full of bullshit, no disrespect. He said, I go, well, what do you think? He said, I think I got to do more reps.
Yeah. Yeah. So he listened to you.
Hell yeah.
He listened to you. Man, he is a monster. I mean, just an absolute monster. I tried to talk him so hard until the last time I saw him, which was almost a year ago now. I was like, take the damn shirt off and do something raw because you have all the power there to do something big.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And he's
what was nice is I saw Mendy 2 days ago. You know, I hardly recognized him.
Yeah. But
he grabbed my hand, grabbed a hold of me, kind of gave me a hug. I'm going, this is Scott Mendelson.
Yeah, yeah.
He says, I'm going over to arm wrestling because that's Scott Mendelson.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the time, I probably wouldn't have talked much with him because, you know, he's got that shirt on and doing big lifts and got a really big raw.
Yeah.
And then I saw the injury with the shirt.
Yeah.
I went, well, you know.
Yeah.
You play with fire, you're going to get burned.
Yeah, burned, yeah.
I never saw anything. You know, I mean, when I tore my stuff off.
His was black.
Yeah,
he looked like a corpse on the top end. I remember that. That's crazy. So, who do you consider to be the top bencher ever?
Gosh, I don't know. There's so many different weight classes. And
let's just say big guys.
Oh, you know, there was this doctor out of the Carolinas. What the hell was his name? He did like a 630-40 at 275.
Yeah.
Doctor. Anyway.
One of the older guys I remember reading a lot on was Mike McDonald.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. He just passed. I don't want to cut him down.
Yeah.
But Anello was here for his deadlift.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut him down. But Anello only locked out one deadlift. It was his last lift of his career.
He had a very weird build. And I remember looking
at his... Still does. But
he stays almost humped.
Yeah, he had kind of like a problem with his thoracic.
Yeah.
But he locked out a 700 once.
Uh-huh.
He never had another big deadlift past. Because his were like Andy Bolton. I love Andy Bolton, but putting his hips forward, through, never really did it.
Yeah.
But you got three judges to say it was a good lift, so I guess.
Did you ever see Gary Frank's, any of Gary Frank's lifts, any of his deadlifting or anything?
Extremely powerful. One of the strongest ever.
Yeah.
But getting back to Mike McDonald on the bench, he had this pectoral from who knows how he got it. Didn't have any arms. I don't know if he was legal with his width, but he'd take that bar and shove it up, throw his elbows out, and hold it. Fuck, is he going to finish it?
Yeah.
No. Wrists are all bent.
Yeah.
And he's holding it. Oh, he locked out.
Yeah.
And then tell racket. And I've got his bar at 6. He did a 606 at 242.
Yeah.
I had that bar back in Alabama. When I lifted in the meet where he did it, I was with Smith.
Yeah. I
want to say and Paul Wren.
Yeah.
And I'm a young guy.
Paul Wren was a legend at that time. I remember reading a lot of stuff on him.
This is those mid-late 70s.
Yeah.
And late 70s. And Paul Wren didn't take a liking to me.
Yeah.
I had a hoodie on. And I was kind of like snorting.
Yeah.
And just getting the early days of Kaz going.
Yeah.
And I go up to Paul Smith. The Smith kid.
Yeah.
Who did like a 21:50 that day. And
yeah.
I was second behind him, and I beat Paul Wren. And he, I asked him, "How do I put on some good weight? I mean, you're muscular as hell, and I feel kind of lean and skinny." He goes, "Well, my old friend Paul Wren told me eat a lot of cornbread and grits." I thought, man, is that the best advice you can give me? He worked for Carter Glagu. Carter Glagu?
It doesn't ring a bell.
Doesn't know, like name your top pharmas.
Oh, makes sense now. Huh, interesting. So he's giving you bullshit information because he's got a good pharmacy connection.
He worked for the company, so he's got all the steroids he wants,
right?
But he won't mention one of them.
Wow.
So, do you ever talk about steroids on your podcast?
Not much, but we can.
I had a doctor who taught at the university. He said, "Bill, I'm an endocrinologist.
Yeah.
I know my stuff.
Yeah.
And you're killing yourself.
Uh-huh.
The volume you're doing in that gym, you're not anabolizing enough protein."
Uh-huh.
He tells me a story. He goes, "I'm working with his athlete now, and me and my team. Can't tell you his name." I go, "Okay." He said, "I just want to authenticate, who I am, what I do." And he goes through the story.
Yeah.
I'm told by the guru of steroid defense, Collins, to not talk about any of this for fear of lawsuit. But long story short, if you go to your attorney and he says, "This is how you close on a house.
Yeah.
This is how you fight a DUI or a traffic ticket."
Right.
If your doctor says, "This is what you need because you got to anabolize more protein, you need an anabolic effect."
Yeah.
So here, take these tablets every day. And I did.
Yeah.
And would I do it again? Why not?
Yeah, hell not. Hell yeah, you would.
But
you got to also remember, too, at a different time.
It was under doctor's supervision. Well, people call me a cheater.
Well, no, listen. Anabolic steroids weren't illegal until 1987.
Yeah.
So all that shit you guys played with back then was basically Tylenol. It was great shit, but I'm saying the point is that it didn't have the same legal parameters. And now it's coming around full circle again because now you got all these low T centers opened up. And I bet you 20% of men are on testosterone. Does that mean that they can't go and play sports? Or I don't think so.
But when you say play with, it wasn't playing. We went to the doctor.
Yeah.
He checked our blood. He wrote a prescription.
Right.
And we went to the pharmacy.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much playing's going in there. I think maybe what you're referring to is guys at the time that were bringing back suitcases from here and there and going to Italy and Spain.
And that's the thing is I think back then it was just less known of what it did to the body, what you look for parameter-wise in the blood work. I mean, guys like me, we have Dr. Serrano here in town, which I'm sure you know Eric.
Sure.
He's been in a lot of the Swiss conferences. There's nothing that we do that he doesn't monitor.
Yeah.
But back then, if you knew that stuff, you were.
Well, the funny thing is, you just mentioned how people said that you're cheating.
And I think that always drives me crazy is I think some people have in their head that you take a pill and now you're suddenly strong and you're suddenly doing all this stuff. And what those people don't realize or think about is all the fucking work you're putting in.
Yeah.
And all the and that is just something that again, like you said, your doctor prescribed, your doctor told you to do to stay healthy or to not break down. You're still doing the work. It's still
let's
you.
Use an analogy from drag racing in cars, which just came to my mind. Never used it before, but go ahead and take a regular car and put nitromethane in it. You'll blow it up. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Or alcohol or or race
a
gas.
huge turbo or anything.
Yeah.
So.
Or take some dillweed YouTube commentator and give him
you're not.
steroid.
Take a car.
Yeah.
Lay a foundation.
Yeah.
Pull it apart. Get a forged crank.
Yeah.
Best damn bearings you can get.
Yeah.
Over time, build things up.
Yeah.
Right.
Add a little more.
Yeah, and plus
do the heads.
Plus, what people
put a smart
valves,
driver in the seat.
I think the other
everything forged all the way through.
Yeah.
Start doing some sort of intake, whether it be turbo, supercharger,
right tires,
nitrous,
right drive shaft, all those things.
The big setup.
And think about it this way, though: you were an exceptional athlete. You were an ultimate power athlete. Before any of that even came into play, your body was ready.
And that's what I try to encourage a lot of young people.
Yeah.
I go, well, you're 6'6", you're 320 pounds. You're never going to make any money unless you hit the top 10.
Yeah.
You sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
Because it's going to change your attitude. Mm-hmm. There's something called roid rage. I know what that is. Mm-hmm. And the psychological aspects and changes are ones where if you want to be alpha male, you can't change. Mm-hmm. Would I have ever wanted to be 420 pounds? I already lived in a crowded elevator at 330 pounds. It's
right.
Eddie Hall.
To be Thor and Shaw would be almost a curse.
Oh, they've taken themselves. Just imagine when the cops take you down, the bad guy, and they sit on his chest, and he can't freaking breathe. Right. These guys are walking around like that. Mm-hmm. And Eddie crawls into a hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah. And Eddie, in my opinion, has it the worst because he's a small man trying to be big, trying to keep up with these other dudes. It'd be like, in retrospective, I got up to 316, was as heavy as I got. Yeah. But that would be like me trying to get to the point as big as you got in your prime. My frame to be that big would be stressed to the max.
And what do you think of the anomaly within his DNA?
Yeah.
He's working with a company now that has discovered that he has a myostatin inhibitor in his DNA. Right. Yeah. And that's something.
Kaz, did you watch the Born Strong documentary? Have you seen that?
I don't know if I looked all the way through. Was that Eddie's?
Eddie had his own, and then there's a new one that has that.
Shaw, Eddie, and Thor.
Yeah.
It was just a build-up to the last year's Arnold.
Yeah.
Who did it? Same guys?
It seems like
similar, but it was really well put together.
If you get a chance to watch it, the reason I ask is and we've talked about it with a couple people even on the podcast. One of the things that drives me crazy is so they're here in Columbus, and at one point they take Thor, Shaw, and Eddie over to OSU.
And you're going to know this guy's name that did all the research because he's a Wisconsin guy, Dr. William Kramer. Oh, that's my professor.
So in the documentary, they start talking about, kind of like they do in Eddie Hall's documentary, the toll it takes to be 400 pounds on the body and what that does to your body. I think they even have a couple more clips with Eddie and his wife.
So they're showing them getting tested, but they don't show any result. Yeah. They give no information.
There's a build-up to this, like how it's going to show it's probably not a good idea for them to be that big.
Did they not talk about testing their bone density and the amount of... Did you know that they weighed like Zadrunas' body without muscle, water, anything, just bone, and what it weighs? Can you guess? He weighs 400
Well, I can tell you this. I'm not nearly as strong as Zadrunas Savickas, and last time I got my bone mineral density tested, it was 3.5 times that of a normal human. And I've done some 3 world records, but the point is that mine's 3.5, so I can only imagine what Zadrunas is. It's got to be almost 4 times.
I'm not sure on that percentage, but what we're talking about is total body weight. Total weight. Yeah. It's like 12 pounds.
Really?
Yeah. Bone structure. So they did the calculations on Heffler.
Yeah.
Double.
Wow.
So there you go. He's a giant.
Yeah.
I don't know that you guys want to go into it on this podcast. But
we'll go anywhere you want to go.
I've been studying civilizations from around the world that have been here a million years ago. Mm-hmm. And they have found a skull.
Yeah.
That a guy's standing next to it, and it's 6 feet wide and 10 feet tall, and it's a skull. Uh-huh. They have bone structures of people who were 20, 30, 40 feet tall.
Yeah.
They talk about some that were 150 feet tall.
It's insane.
And there have been so many civilizations that when we start talking about the strongest man in the history of the planet, you're not educated enough to really talk about it.
Yeah.
Because you weren't here 10,000 years ago.
Yeah. And we only started really writing history 2,000 years ago, or a little more beyond. So.
And let's touch on history.
Yeah.
When you talk about Vietnam and the war starting,
Yeah.
if you actually go back and see it, the way they wrote it, it never happened.
Yeah.
They said a boat went up the river and they attacked. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, you got Saddam Hussein and Manuel Noriega and Kennedy, and one lone gunman's going to shoot Kennedy 4 times in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's history.
Right.
History is always bent.
Yeah.
It's written. If a strength historian lies, you got a bad man and woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I know strength historians who lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally agree.
It's a shame, though. But if you're going to record that shit, don't bend it. If you're going to be a Paul Anderson and you don't do 6,000 pounds and you got aluminum weights, there's a picture of him with 6 discs.
Yeah.
Outside, there was 600 pounds at the meet, so they brought in 6 more discs. I don't know how they stayed in the bar.
You were around at this time period.
Because
I've always wondered this, and I know you were around in this time period, and I want your thought pattern on it. I know that John Enzer was credited for pulling 800, but I know that they wheeled it out of a crate, let him pull it, and then wheeled it back and wouldn't let anybody touch it. What do you know about that?
Not much, but I know that we did the NERB, New England Record Breakers, and it was Raw and Dundee and a few of the others said, I would say, ciders.
Mm-hmm. Ciders.
Everybody's total was down about 400 pounds.
Yep.
And the weights were accurate, and there were international judges. And we said, let's do another meet. And we were told by that same group, if you do the meet, we will bring the weights. You will not touch them. You will not weigh them. You will not get involved. We have our own loaders.
Jeez.
And I have a question when the round system first came in.
Yeah. What year was that? 85?
I can't remember. My point is,
Yeah.
you got 3 real plates, and then another smaller one that's real, and a smaller one that's real, and a smaller one that's real. And then the last guy comes out, you take all the real little ones off, and you put a fake big one on. And you got a big world record.
Yes.
Let's go through time, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But let's figure out who might have done it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to look too close to see a few guys that, when the round system started,
Yeah.
and the last plate went on, and it was this big world record. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions there.
Like I say, Anderson
For sure.
I gave 2 of the aluminum plates that Milo Steinborn.
So if you have an
made.
aluminum 45, what does that aluminum 45
I think they
actually
were
weigh?
about 11.
About 11 pounds?
I think, yeah.
So if it's supposed to be 45, it could actually weigh 11 and look 45.
Oh yeah.
Fuck, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy.
Milo
Well, you see,
Steinborn
I
had
mean,
them.
and without naming names, you see that now a lot on social media. There are a lot of guys that are being called out for using fake weights and stuff, and it's all ego.
Castleberry's
Yeah.
one of them.
How about our females that are doing a deadlift? I saw some girls in North England where I'm training. They're pulling a weight. I thought it was like 500-600 pounds. They were all 5s,
Yep.
but they look like 45s.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, like bumper
Yeah.
plates and stuff like that.
CrossFit's amazing for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember Rosie Ruiz
Yeah.
in the Boston Marathon?
Yeah.
I call it charlatanism.
Yeah. Yeah, she fucking
Like rode
Jumped
a
out of the
bus or
tunnel.
something?
yeah, she got a taxi and came to the last half mile and finished the race.
Yeah.
And then she didn't even run it.
That's how I do most of my marathons, though, to be honest.
Well, no way.
Yeah. The last 5 full marathons I've run, I might have gotten. I know to look at me, you think he ran them, but
Okay.
no,
Can I be perfectly honest with you?
Yeah, sure.
I got into cycles for a while
Yeah.
and cycling, and
This was after lifting?
yeah, this
Okay.
is back around the late 90s.
Okay.
And these guys are going off. They said, "Come on, Bill, do at least 25 a day, and we'll go out and we'll hit 100."
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard time with 10s and
Yeah.
yeah.
shit. I get to my 25s.
I figured you were going to give us an insight into Lance Armstrong's blood doping.
I don't know anything about it. But is it real or is it Memorex?
Yeah.
How good are your doctors? So these guys finally call me out. They get me encouraged. I get up the starting line
Yeah.
on 100. I don't know what to do because I get really beat up at 25.
Yeah.
I thought if I get ahead of him, maybe I could just stay ahead of him. It made sense to me.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
So I hauled ass.
Yeah.
I got around the first curve, and all of a sudden, I'm looking back at the second curve, and I got these guys. They're doing their 80 reps, and I'm like, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Round about 3-4 miles out, I go, fuck, where are these guys? I pull over. I get a burger, a malted milk.
that sounds like a bike ride.
I top off my Honda Double X. Because I've been running about 130 for the last 5 minutes. And they ain't nowhere. They said, Bill, this 100 miles is going to take us like 4 hours. I got done in under an hour. And I had a burger and a malt.
That's a long
Way
bike
to
ride
ride
I
the
get
bike.
behind. Yeah.
Just on it.
That's how I ride, baby.
So who would you say is, for me, because I grew up really close to Chicago.
I don't do good with recall, but go ahead.
Ed Coan.
I sat next to a guy
Yeah.
day before yesterday called Ed Coan.
Did you?
I got a selfie.
Yeah, he's a badass.
Jeez.
Do you feel
I don't geek out much,
he's
but-
probably one of the best powerlifters ever, or is?
Oh, he just had something about his body where he's like big, strong, but miniaturized.
He was your size
Yeah.
in 5'5". He has a size 13 shoe.
I didn't know.
That was the craziest thing. We had him in here the other day, and you shake his hand, much like with you feel like you're going to lose a hand because you guys all have these
He
huge
can play
oven
basketball, but my
But he's
point
got
was
like
I
size
first
12,
met
13
him
feet. It's ridiculous.
probably in, I want to say 93 when I was about 13, and this guy he was Eddie was huge then, massive, and Timmy had the guy that taught me how to bench him at me said that's the strongest fucking guy in the world, and I'm looking at him going he was big. He was built like you, but he was small,
Compact. Yeah.
compact as shit.
If you look at some of the early photos of his teenage years on world-class stages, like being around,
Yeah,
I never noticed him.
yeah,
We were just big super heavyweights.
yeah.
Never with smaller classes. I hardly knew guys that were 242 or any of that. And then after my career and watching him, I popped into a Texas meet
Yeah,
where he did like a 9:59.
yeah.
He stepped back, like almost, I don't want to say emotionless because there's a lot of emotion,
Yeah,
but it was like blank other than I'm going to do this.
yeah. He's like the epitome of a machine. Like when he would lift, he was just like.
Well, and I still say he doesn't understand how strong he is.
Tell Kaz what he tells you every time he sees you.
Well, I got my first compliment from him this year.
He said he lost
You
some
did.
fat.
No. That is not what Eddie said. Eddie looked at me and goes, "You look like less of a fat ass this year." Look at you. You're less. And he looks around and goes, "Look at him. His face isn't so ruddy. He looks. Your eyes look clear.
if
You look
get a
less
compliment
fat."
Yeah.
In a lifetime, I think you've done well.
Yeah.
He finally stopped pinching me.
He does that shit to
He
me all
did
the
it
time
for years.
too.
I told him I was going to thump him a couple years ago.
I was
It hurt.
so I was working the Arnold with a film crew, and I was running equipment and stuff, and I'm trying to navigate through the crowds.
He
the crazy crowds.
personally.
So, and I have a story with you, which I'll tell in a second, from last year. But so I'm walking through the crowd this year, and all of a sudden something hits me in the back, and I think I'm going to fall over. I think I might have just gotten hit by maybe a display falling over or something. Just hits me on the shoulder. I turn around. There's Ed. It's just Ed. He slapped me on the back to say hi. And I'm like, I just thought I got hit by like a fucking this big oven mitt just slaps me, and I'm like,
breaking over 70 world records. Do you think? I always put like him and Pacifico, especially for lighter body weight guys. Him and Pacifico have to be really close. Pacifico just dominated for a whole decade.
Yeah, I don't compare them.
You don't?
Not at all. When Eddie squatted like the machine, he deadlifted and then started cheating till he tore his ass out. Mm-hmm. Did world records, and then he went back to conventional and still did world records. Mm-hmm. And when he tore his pec after world records, he still went back up to world class. Yeah. It's like, how do you stop this guy?
Yeah,
he's that kind of machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that as head and shoulders above anybody. And I wouldn't put Pacifico in that. Which one do you mean, Jimmy?
No, Larry.
Oh,
no, not.
I wouldn't put him in the same category.
No. So if you have to take yourself out, top 5 guys to ever lift any weight class.
You mean powerlifting?
Powerlifting.
Yeah, you're really good at this recall shit, but I'm not. Because here's the deal.
Listen, you gotta get Reinhold in there somewhere.
You got a Naba, and you got Chucky Dunbar, and you got
Dunbar.
Lamar Gant.
John
He locks
Cook.
out. I'm trying to remember if he locked out below the knee or right at the knee.
What do you remember?
But my point is,
yeah, there's so many.
well, and then the point is, like when Lee Moran did that squat, it was just incredible. When Anthony Clark did his reverse bench, do you give that credit? I don't know.
Well, see,
I didn't see Jim Williams
That's why I
lift.
always look at it. Like, I think if you got to go powerlifting, you got to be in the top 5. In my opinion, you got to be able to. You had to have hit the 600 raw bench,
Right.
because to do that and still be a good squatter, as you know, is insanely hard.
Yeah, Jim Williams did all that.
Yeah.
And they took his lifts because of maybe an elbow wrap.
Yeah.
And then now, because people do straps and everything else, they give it back to him.
Yeah.
Point being, as super heavyweights, we didn't go to watch the 98 pounders.
Right.
How little were they?
Yeah.
114 or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
I'm just wondering your personal
but when you
opinion
see
without all that.
it's it's kind of tough when I see an ant carrying 4 to 6 times its body weight.
You're not impressed.
It's a fucking ant. I just step on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until I get over to Africa where there's billions of those things.
Yeah.
And then they eat you.
Yeah. I use a criteria. Like, you got to be good for a long time. You got to obviously hit certain numbers. So for me, Ed Coan is right up there.
Yeah.
You're there.
I had a short career, so you could drop me out of the top 5.
I don't know about that. I mean, because I count your strongman career as powerlifting career, because that's still insanely hard. It's similar energy systems.
The Russian guy now that just did the big squat,
Milanichev.
is that the guy that has very little hair and has his hands in like this?
Yeah, Milanichev, yeah.
What kind of bench does he got? Because how the hell is he going to get his hands in like that?
This is where I've only met him once. I was at Raw Unity in 2014. He broke the world record squat completely raw, and then I benched 606. And I outbenched everybody at the meet, even the supers, even though I was only 292. And he came up to me with his coach and shook my hand because he only benched 570.
Okay.
Right?
But that's how he's got the flexibility, because he's not muscle bound like you were.
Not as much. He looks kind of like, he looks pudgy and not real muscular, but he's, man.
Well, there again, we were saying earlier that the 3 lifts don't really go together.
Yeah.
You wonder why John cut down his body weight. It was for his health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But how many times do you see somebody who's got a great bench, Lars Hedlund, a little bit of a squat, no deadlift.
Right.
And you see that time and time again. Mm-hmm. You got a great bench because you got short arms.
Right.
You got a great squat because you got a short back.
Right. So who do you think's in the middle that has it all, like had it all, besides you and Eddie? Is there anybody else that sticks out in your head? I know John Cook hit over 600 bench and had it close to 900 pulls.
Doug
right?
Furness,
yeah.
He was incredible.
What was the guy with the big? I always
Kowalski?
forget his name. The guy that had the big beard from the Northwest.
Yeah, Doyle Kennedy.
Kennedy.
And we just said the Doug Furness, and then the
See, I think Kurt Kowalski being an amazing squatter was awesome, but not really a great bencher or deadlifter per se.
Yeah, but that squat's so interesting and impressive that you just kind of go, wow. Let's talk about squat and the dynamics of what happens in the squat.
Yeah.
And when Passanella came up to me, he squatted 850, and he said, Bill, I'm going to squat blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him, I go, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Because he said it. So all you got to do is verbalize it enough times, tell the greatest people around you, and if they go, you are, then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know he was going to build a bigger bar, which helped him a little bit, but no discredit. It helped the industry to change.
Do you think that if you'd have had that wider bar earlier, that it would have helped you out tremendously?
Oh yeah, a lot of weight.
I'm telling you right now, I can't fit in a normal bar anymore.
But now let's look at dynamics of squat.
Yep.
And let's take everybody. I saw a squat on Facebook the other day. The thing was about 9 inches high.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of weight. And he did 1 or 2, and I'm going, there were no muscle in his legs. I thought to myself, why doesn't he just back out, bend his knees and hips, and then close them a half inch each, and then rack it?
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you squat parallel or below, something happens at the low back. Mm-hmm. And our kid Passanella could not, like Marv Phillips was perfect. Big glutes, hip flexors. He'd roll his hips, give up his low back, go under, come back out of it, reset his low back, and come up. That's a nifty little move.
Yep.
And I judge the greatest squatters in the world by having that move, and there hasn't been but a couple of dozen.
Wow. Yeah.
You ever feel that at the bottom?
Oh, yes.
If you stay this high, you're very comfortable.
Yeah.
But if you try to drop below,
yep,
you got to give it up.
Yep.
And then come up
transition
reset.
comes off of the quadricep onto the hamstring and ass. Then you got to use those to spring out because your knee's at such a degree of flexion or extension that when you get down to the bottom, you have to use those posterior muscles to help.
Yeah.
You know.
And I was squatting. We talked about progression.
Yeah.
I went out to California in my early years, and I said I'm going to get with some of the best.
Bill
Terry
West.
McCormick, 242 world champion.
Yeah.
Marv Phillips,
Yeah.
220 pounder doing an 811, maybe 242, but he switched around there. And Dave Shaw.
Yeah.
And I trained with these guys, and I learned a lot from them.
Yeah.
And we lifted a lot of weight, and
Yeah.
I was a little bit young and crazy. But I'd drive 60 miles one way to train with these guys, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's the sacrifice that you have to make.
For sure.
To find the people who have the intel. So when you're off doing seminars with Eddie and a few other guys, who's the other?
Paul Quinn.
Yeah, Pugwin.
Yeah.
When you really want to learn and get by somebody who knows, if it's going to cost you $500 or $1,000, it's like buying our SPD belt.
Mm-hmm.
People say, that's a lot of money. I go, how much you pay for your Starbucks today?
Yep.
Well, $7, and I'm gonna get a quad latte later with a soy latte, and that's gonna be another $7. Oh, you spent $15 on coffee? No. I had 2 this morning. I spend about $20 a day on coffee.
Yeah.
Oh well, how long are you gonna have your belt? Oh, I don't know. I'll probably be in this for another 20 years. Okay, do your math. 365 times 20.
Yep.
It's costing you a nickel a day.
Yep. Yeah.
You want to buy it?
Yeah. And we're getting the same. We get the same type of emails and stuff with the belt squat machine.
Yeah.
Well, my shoulder hurts and my back hurts. How do I still get strong? Well, get a belt squat. Then you don't have to use any of those muscles, and you can still get strong. Well, I don't have that kind of money, but it's okay for, you know what I mean?
Let's talk about that belt squat, because I sure wish I would have done that, and I can tell you what I did that circumvented the heavy stresses of the low back for gaining better lower body strength, if you want to hear that.
Yeah.
And your adaptation with your dumbbell row for that machine is kind of innovative.
Yeah.
I would want to speak to that also.
Yeah.
Which do you want first?
Yeah.
Your choice.
Whichever.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 of our sit down with Bill Kazmaier. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes. We have some great podcasts coming in the future. Also, don't forget to go to winningstrengthmedia.com for all of your training needs. And again, use discount code KAZ, that's K-A-Z, now through August 31st, 2018 for a 15% discount on all purchases.